No job is safe, and that's the best thing that ever happened.
Relying on a job now is insanity.
Every excuse you tell yourself is just fear wearing another mask.
I don't know what to do is bullshit.
Eoin Dobbin Catto is an entrepreneur who built freedom the hard way.
Being high agency, man, if you were not high agency, I genuinely think like life is going to be really, really difficult for you in the next 10 years.
In a world getting automated, he's proof that independence is still possible. We talked about how fear hides behind logic, how comfort keeps you stuck, and how to build a life that runs on self-trust instead of job security.
Get a sheet of paper, here's the worst case scenario. And then on the other side of the page,
if you ever felt the quiet dread of another Monday morning, this episode will remind you, the world's changing fast, but you still get to choose who you become. Who you become. Eoin, welcome to the show, my friend.
It's good to be back. We have a new location this time, not Zoom. It's much better.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And I want to double tap on how much of a full circle moment this is, because only through content we actually crossed paths. This very start of my journey, I was looking to do different projects with online coaches. I found yourself, who is also based in Ireland, and it's just mad how 2 years later we're in a shed in Offaly just doing this thing.
Yeah, man, I think it's even more than 2 years. I think it's 2 years since we did the last podcast, and 3 years since, it must be close to 3 years, because I only left Ireland, yeah, maybe it's 2.5, or maybe my maths is awful and it is too. But whatever, it's definitely been a journey on both sides, and it's cool to see you go from that kind of starter role of trying to figure out, like, what am I doing here? What am I building? You've tried a few different things, and the podcast is back. and I love it. I love it because you were very good at it. And the last podcast, not only were you good at it, but it seems to be the thing that you want to do as well. And it seems to be the thing that you just feel good doing and are very good at as well. So I'm delighted that you're back.
Happy days, man. I after throwing so much shit at the wall, I figured out, okay, this is the thing that I can double down on, that I'll enjoy doing over a longer time frame. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's magic to be able to do this. I want to firstly start off on with a little bit of advice you gave me all the way back in, it was definitely 2023. It was when I was over in Spain on my own, and I had just put up my first venture. I kind of broadcast to the world that I was doing this entrepreneurial thing. And I remember we were after doing a bit of a project together, and a month later I came to you and I was like, any advice for actually talking to the camera and putting your first piece of content out there? Do you remember what that was that you said?
I think I do. I think I was like, just do it. And I think I was quite harsh, and I was like, if I don't see content on your page by Friday, I'm going to do, I can't remember what there was, like some threat or consequence of you not posting.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, it was a Tuesday, and it was a Tuesday evening. Hi Loose Bomb, how are you getting on? And you said to me, if I don't see a piece of content up of you talking to the camera by Friday, I'm never going to help you again.
Oh yeah, that's right. I was like, don't ever, it's like, here's the advice, but if you don't take the advice, don't ever ask for advice again.
Yeah.
Which I think is good advice, like, right? Because I could see that you just, it's like, what advice do you need? Like, hit record, do the thing, right? But it's hard to do it as well. So I think at the time I was just like, yeah, you just need a push to do it. Like, you don't need advice about it. You just need a bit of a push to do it, and then you'll figure it out. Because
I actually asked you, I remember I asked you before that, you did a podcast on TMP, Total Mental Performance. And I was asking you, do you think that should be something I should give a go before posting the story? And you were like, no, you just have to do it, like.
Yeah, you don't need a 4-month course to post the story. Oh, man.
And even, I thought that was such good advice though. Like you said, put up a story on Instagram for anyone who is too afraid or like is scared to actually do that first story talking to the camera, your advice was to put up a story, put up a question box, and ask yourself a question.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I did. Asked myself a question, took out the phone, answered the question, and that was the first rep. That was the first time I pulled off the Band-Aid. And 2 years later, here we are.
I'd forgotten that bit, but yeah, that was always a good little hack, because I don't know if you can do it anymore, but if you put that question box up, you could then ask yourself a nice easy question that you know the answer to, and you can answer a question that you're very comfortable answering. And it's also for people on the outside, I guess if you're just starting, you're in your head and you're going, what will people think? What will they judge me for posting this content? Whereas if it looks like someone else asked a question, it's a bit more understandable that you answered the question, and then, not that any of that matters, but like in your head, it matters at the start.
Yeah. In your head is definitely... I had so many demons about, like, even though I was in Spain on my own, I had started that new slate. I got out of my environment, which is the best way to like start forming new habits. But I was still thinking of everyone back home.
Yeah.
What are they going to think? Like, what if they're going to just take the piss out? Everyone's going to take the piss out of me. Everyone's going to laugh at me, mock me, whatever. And another thing that you said is that I found this was brilliant. You said, if someone mocks you or laughs at you for doing something that you really want to do, they are not actually a real friend. Mm-hmm. And that was like that was just such a magical insight. It gave me permission to actually go for it. And yeah, all it takes is one moment. The next thing, the snowball effect just kind of takes into place.
Yeah, man. I'm delighted that advice was helpful. I'll be honest, I totally forgot about that until now. So thanks for bringing that up, because that's kind of cool to reflect on and be like, oh, it actually had some utility and some impact, and cool to see you now doing a podcast, right? Because that's like the fear of posting an Instagram story to now 2 years later, be recording podcasts with people all over the place and like having these deep conversations. It's quite a jump. So,
well, thanks, man. You've definitely been a part of the journey. So tell us, Eoin, like, give us a little backstory, give us a bit of context to your journey, give us a bit of context to your origin story. How did you get into coaching in the first place? How did this all start?
Yeah, I'll give you the short version. You can ask for length on any singular part. So I was big into sport as a kid. There was a lot of my identity wrapped up in that. Always wanted to be a footballer, actually, while I was a young kid. That kind of dream disappeared in my early teenage years. I did 10 years of being a party animal, drinking, smoking, fighting, chaos, trouble with the police, all that stuff. Loads of fun. Absolutely loved it. Honestly, great decade of life, even though I wouldn't do any of it now. When I got to 23, 24, I kind of realized the path I was on was not a good one. And I kind of realized that, look, if I don't sort myself out here, either health-wise or legally, I'm going to get myself in trouble, or I'm just doing a lot of dumb stuff that doesn't really build a good life going forward. So I was kind of, I was kind of smart to the fact that there was a shelf life on acting the maggot. And I knew that you could do it for so long, but also I had quite big goals and aspirations all my life. And the one thing that I kind of found fulfillment and enjoyment in was training and going to the gym. I was doing a bit of boxing and Muay Thai and going mostly weights, but doing a little bit of training on the side as well. And that was kind of like my segue out of, I was working in bars and pubs and stuff for a while as well. So that whole lifestyle was quite difficult to break away from. But that was kind of my segue out of that and into health and fitness. And I was always quite quite self-sufficient, I've sold all sorts of stuff over the years. I actually wrote out a list one day of all the things I've sold in my life. And there was 50 things on the list. Horses, laptops, all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
What was the first thing you sold?
First thing I remember was selling horses.
What age?
Maybe 13, 14, up at horse fairs. For selling them for other people. So I would ride these crazy horses. I was a bit of a crazy teenager, and I would be put on these crazy horses for a neighbour over the road, and I would go and ride these crazy horses at like Ballinasloe Horse Fair and sell these horses for him, and I would get commission on whatever I sold, and I would get paid for the day to ride these horses. And then, you know, between the fairs, I would be riding these crazy horses around to tire them out so they wouldn't be so crazy at the fair. So we'd take them up to the bog the night before, ride them through the bog for like 3-4 hours. And it was tough, like I might get thrown off and, you know, get hit and kicked, but like it was good fun. So that was like my first, I guess that was my first sales gig. But, you know, I sold basically anything that wasn't tied down for years and years. I really kind of was like self-sufficient. I always wanted to make my own money. I didn't really like working for other people. I didn't like being told what to do in school, the workplace, all of that. I didn't really work all that much. I used to kind of buy and sell cars and like bits of cars and like all that kind of stuff too. So kind of standard acting the maggot behavior, and then other stuff as well on top of that.
On the side.
So yeah, cookies and loaves of bread and stuff, you know. So I did that for a long period of time, and I guess I developed some sales skills there.
Yeah.
But I knew that I didn't want to work in a bar forever, and I knew that college wasn't really that appealing to me, or like studying, so I didn't do college or any of that. But I just decided, I was like, right, I'll start my own business. I know how to sell shit. I know how to make money. I'm kind of good at this. I'm good with people. I, you know, have a big network of people. And I kind of went into coaching. I always went into coaching with a mind to building a business. Like coaching was the vehicle to being in business. For a lot of people, they're like, they get into coaching because they love coaching and they really want to like be in the gym all the time.
Yeah.
For me, it was, yes, that was part of it, but it was also, I'm good at this thing. I can build a business out of this thing. So let me do this thing. So it was always kind of like a path to getting into business. And of course, online business was something like, this is a good while ago. This is 2019. I started an online business. So it's like, it'll be I'm in my 7th year. It's like 6.5 years at the moment. But nobody was doing it back then. Like, honestly, not that many people were doing it. And it was like, there were people doing it, but it wasn't what it is now, where like everyone has had an online coach, or everyone knows someone who has an online coach, and it's very normal. And back then, like my circle of friends, you know, good friends as well, like who meant well, were like, oh, that won't work out. Don't do that. You know, I had a friend who was a personal trainer in the gym, and he was like, man, forget about the online stuff. Don't go to like this mastermind you're thinking of going to. I'll teach you everything I know so you can build a good in-person business. And I almost didn't attend a mastermind, which I just yesterday had my mastermind in Galway for online coaches and creators. And it's almost 6 years to the day since I attended the first ever mastermind. And I almost didn't go because this well-meaning friend told me like, don't bother, like I'll teach you everything I know. But like, you know, he was working in the gym with a handful of clients. He was in there like 6 a.m. in the morning until 10 p.m. at night. And I was like, dude, I don't want that. Like, so
that's really good. I want to double tap on that, because if someone gives you advice and you don't want their life, you would have to be insane to take that advice and run with it. But so many people do.
Yeah, everyone does. We take health advice from people who are not healthy. We take financial advice from people who are not financially in a good place. You know, and a lot of people don't really know what they're up to in life, right? And that's just life. Like there's loads of areas of life that I am just completely unskilled in. I kind of like get through them. There's a few that I'm really good in, and there's loads of areas of life that I'm just useless in. But I would still, you know, I still probably have some opinions on that, right? It's like back in the day, I used to know a little bit about cars because I was into cars. I haven't like done any messing around with cars in like probably close to 7 or 8 years. And like cars have changed quite a bit in the last 7 or 8 years. But my ego still thinks I know a bit about cars. But really I don't. And you know, I got into an electric vehicle recently and couldn't start it because there was like some weird start sequence. And I was like, what is wrong with this? And you know, if I speak to my girlfriend about cars, I'm very willing to give her advice. But if I actually think about it, I really don't know that much about cars. Right? Like not compared to someone who actually knows about cars and someone who could actually give advice. I can give some advice based on my experience, but like overall, you know, I would give advice from a well-meaning place, but I'm really not up to date with what's happening in cars. I don't know anything about electric cars. I don't really follow anything. I don't mess around with cars and try and fix stuff in cars anymore. And cars are just changing, you know, as well. So like the cars that I messed around with 8 years ago are probably not the same now anyway. So like all that stuff, we just all get advice from people who mean well, and we give advice meaning well too.
Yeah,
but you have to be really, really careful, because like some of the worst advice is well-meaning advice from people who don't want you to get hurt, right? So like family, parents, they're always going to give you very safe advice because it's their job and their role and their duty to protect you. And, you know, it might be the kind of, I want to change career. I listened to one of your podcasts recently with the musician from Edinburgh.
Yeah, Finbar, yeah.
Finbar, right? And it's a good conversation. And, you know, I was laughing because he was talking about how he spoke to his parents, and, you know, his parents would say, oh, did you hear about this person who got this good job as a lawyer? And he's kind of like, oh, did you hear about this musician who like dropped his career in the bank and went to play music?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it's very well-meaning advice, because if you ask, you know, if I ask my parents, hey, I'm going to take this risk, should I do it? Almost always they're going to be like, well, we don't want to give him the wrong advice that makes a disaster for him. So we'll give him the safe advice. But that's also the advice that costs you going and doing the thing. So like a lot of the time, a lot of advice is like really well-meaning advice. It's like, it comes from a place of love, and it comes from a place of wanting to support or protect you. But it's also often the advice that like keeps you stuck in certain things as well. So I think, yeah, I always just now look at like, will I take advice from this person? You know, and if I don't, like, I would never take relationship advice from someone who I see cheating on their partner.
Yeah.
You know, for example, or if I see someone who's very unhappy in their relationship, I would never take advice from that person, because it's like, that's not what I want. If it's like financial advice, I won't take financial advice from someone who's not in the position that I want to be in. And I won't take advice from, you know, somebody from a career or a work standpoint, again, who's not doing something that I want to do, you know. And I have like very close friends, and some of them make a lot of money, but they hate their job, you know. And I also wouldn't take advice from them, because I don't want their life. It's not that their advice isn't good, but I just also don't want what they have, if that makes sense. And I made so many mistakes. I took so much bad advice from people over the years in like different scenarios that, looking back, I'm like, what an idiot. Why did I listen to that? You know?
Yeah. I love that. The part where you said, like, a lot of advice, it's well-meaning, like it comes from love. But then if we flip the coin, there's other advice then that doesn't come from love, and it's actually the mirror of life. So people who maybe have given up on their dream or their ambitions, they will throw rocks at the glass house to try and keep you on the level that they're at. So I think, yeah, it's a very double-edged sword. It's a very nuanced topic. Taking advice with a pinch of salt and kind of, okay, do I want the life that this person has?
I agree on that, by the way, as well. I think I just don't have many of those people left in my, like the rock throwers, the insecure people.
Yeah.
I agree on that. I think for me, when I think about advice, I don't really get that anymore, because I don't have those people in my circle.
Yeah.
You know, but I did get that before from people who were like insecure at the start.
At the start.
I'm getting long in the tooth in this game, man. I've been in here for 7 years. They're gone. They're long gone. But yeah, at the start,
them off.
At the start, I did get advice. You know, people just kind of pulling you down a little bit. You know, and I've probably done that myself to people over the years as well. You know, like, let's be real. It's just a human. I never would consciously do it, but I'm sure at some point over the years, I've probably given somebody advice that I wouldn't give them now from this kind of, I feel like I'm a lot more secure now, but I'm sure we all do that at times as well, you know, and it's easy to be like, oh, cut these people out of your life, but like none of us are angels. Like we all have these kind of periods, and you know.
So true. So I want to rewind for a little bit. Go back to that first moment. You said you're selling horses.
Yeah.
So this is actually really good, because Daniel Priestley, I watched one of his videos the other night with Mo Godat.
Yeah,
He's the happiness
guy,
expert, yeah. And Daniel Priestley said after interviewing thousands of entrepreneurs, he's identified this common theme among all of them, where some point in their childhood, a moment happens where they're like, oh my God, I can actually make something into, make nothing into something. Like I can actually turn effort into freedom. Okay. And a really interesting thing is he actually said, this normally happens around 10 years old. So for me, I only figured out last weekend. It was when me and my cousin decided we're going to wash windows of the neighbours' houses over the road, over on the farm. We were going to do that one weekend back and it was literally when I was around 10, which is really interesting. So I'm wondering, do you think the horses was the first moment for you, or if you really kind of get down to the granular details, do you think there was even a more subtle moment before that that would have cracked that way of thinking open for you?
It's a good question. I haven't actually given a lot of thought. I don't know about you, but I'm terrible at remembering anything. But like, I struggle to remember things in my teenage years. I think I killed too many brain cells in that 10-year period.
It's all a blur.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I'm trying to think if there was something. I don't remember the horses being a penny drop moment or anything like that. I think I just always, for me, it was a little bit different, right? Like from what I remember and what I recall, I just hated authority. Like I used to get in so much trouble at school. I was always like suspended, or I was always getting like pulled into the teacher's office, and I was getting done for like stealing the principal's keys. Like there was one time I stole the principal's keys for like 3 days, and he'd get a taxi home from school. His wife had to come home from work to let him in. The guards came to the school. They were like checking all the cameras.
How'd you get them off him?
Man, he just left them down. Like he left them down, and I grabbed them. Like that was just. Again, there was no malice. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to rob him. It was like, oh, let me hide these keys. This will be hilarious.
Okay.
And, then it got serious, and I was like, okay, I can't give them back now because like the guards are in and like all this stuff.
Did you just like leave them like in the hallway?
No, I got caught on camera. Oh, so I did actually bring them back to the school and use them to open some doors. And got caught on camera doing that. So like, I just used to do all that crazy stuff. Like I used to also just always be in trouble pretty much everywhere I went, to be honest. And I think for me, I didn't have a whole, like I had a good background, like my very good family, but like quite working class as well. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't have had like the fancy things in school. I remember when you were a kid, you'd have those shoes with the red lights that light up.
Yeah.
And when you run around, the red lights light up around the shoes. I never had them, and I always wanted them.
Yeah.
I had a good old pair of like Clark's sturdy shoes that would last 3 years, and I didn't I didn't have a whole lot in terms of material stuff growing up. So I kind of always wanted that a little bit, and I kind of felt like I didn't have it. So I always had this kind of draw towards making money. And I think it was less, for me, I don't know if the horse thing was like, oh, here's how I can be an entrepreneur, because I was more so like acting as a sales rep for this guy, so it wasn't entrepreneurial, but it was sales. But I think it was just like, look, I have a skill set and ability to make money by just like doing things, like I don't have to have a job. And I had jobs and stuff as well growing up, but I did a lot of like odd jobs and just, someone needs help with this sound. Like I went picking potatoes for a fella before, and then he didn't want to pay us. So like there was a bit of over and back to try and get the money off him, but we got the money off him. But like I did a lot of stuff like that. So I don't think there was a specific moment in time. I think like the first big penny drop moment I had entrepreneurial was when I figured out an Instagram strategy. And I made it was early on in business. And at the time I was like earning like €1,000 a month or something. And then I made like €1,700 in a day. And I was like, what? I was like, what? No way. That was like a massive penny drop moment of like, wait, this online thing is like, this really works. Yeah.
This is real.
Because up until then it had been like, getting clients in, but not really knowing where they were coming from and all this kind of stuff. So I think when I was younger, it was just, seeing that I could always I always had an ability to work hard. I was always like, I would do things that other people were scared to do as well, which was a bit of a superpower.
Yeah.
So like, you know, climbing up on roofs to clean something, or like taking apart. I remember when I got suspended one year, it worked out really, really well for me. And it probably conditioned me to the fact that getting suspended was a good thing and I should do it more, because it was when we had like one of the big freezes. It's probably like 10, 15, probably like 15 years ago. I was probably like 13 or 14. It was actually the principal's keys time. So I got suspended for that because there was, you know, they were trying to like get me to pay $3,000 to change all the locks in the school, and trying to like take me to court and all this kind of bullshit. And I got, eventually it was ended with like, okay, you're suspended for 3 weeks, and it was just before Christmas. And the same Christmas, the pipes burst in one of our, the property my dad had, and the whole roof came in. So like my dad was just like, you're working for the 3 weeks, and I got paid to work for 3 weeks, and like the whole roof was in, and just clean out the building and stuff. So it's like, you know, all my classmates were in school reading Irish and maths and all this stuff that I didn't want to do. And I was here like, you know, collecting a bit of cash, like fixing up a roof. I was like, oh, this isn't bad. This is pretty good. So I think it was just, I made a lot of, or I did a lot of different things to like earn money, and I kind of could see that like, I'll always get by, like I'll always be good. But it wasn't really like entrepreneurial. It was more like, I'll never be stuck.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. What a story.
You don't know the half of it.
It must have been a bowel tour.
Yeah, I have a lot of those. There's
That's only tip of the iceberg.
that's only the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, there's a lot that hasn't. I've spoken about a few stories on camera, but there's honestly probably 100 hours of stories.
We'll get into that another time.
Yeah.
So tell me then, Eoin, like what was the moment when you decided to become a coach? Like what was the inspiration behind that actual moment, and what were you doing before that to make the transition into coaching?
Yeah, so basically in 2018, I was still working in a bar, drinking heavily, partying heavily, getting in trouble with the cops as well. And I basically was like, right, I'd been, for like a year, I'd been trying to break away from that lifestyle and all the stuff I was kind of doing. And I was like, this is not working. You mentioned it, environment, right? You know, I was still coming home 3 o'clock in the morning, getting stuck into all sorts late at night, not going to sleep, going to work the next morning, like pretty regularly, like multiple days a week, every week for quite a long time. And I just realized, I was like, I need to change my environment. So I had a friend who was over in New York, and he hooked me up with a bar job in New York. And I just like, in the space of about 6 weeks, I was like, right, fuck this, I'm going to New York. And I basically deleted all my social medias, deleted my phone numbers, got rid of all my, like just wiped everything, any SIM cards, like all of that, completely wiped my digital footprint in 2018. The only thing that I kept was Facebook Messenger for keeping in contact with people. And that's actually, I have very few regrets, but one regret is I deleted my Snapchat account and I deleted my old Instagram account, because there was some whomper content on those that would have been brilliant to have it now and show the world. It was chaos content.
Archives.
Yeah, chaos content of all sorts of stuff. But unfortunately, I wiped them and went to New York. And when I went to New York, I was like, I was like, right, I'm going to go to New York, and for 6 months, I'm going to make cash, and I'm going to figure out my next steps, but I'm not coming back to Ireland to work in a bar. And I knew I could make like better cash in New York. So I was like, if I'm going to do this, I may as well do it somewhere where I can make a bit more cash. So I did that. And throughout the 6 months in New York, I also studied a nutrition course. And I was like, right, I booked in, I paid for a personal training course, because again, it was the only thing that I had a bit of an interest in and I enjoyed doing. I was like, right, well, I like training. I like working out. I'd already got myself in shape at that point, but you know, I was one of these guys who had a six pack, but like I was probably metabolically very unhealthy. You know, like I was drinking a lot, drugs, like all that shit. So like I kind of looked good, but I wasn't healthy. And I was kind of under eating and all that stuff as well. But I'd managed to get myself in shape. So I was like, okay, I can do this. Like, I can get someone else in shape. I got myself in shape. I understand the basics. I was like watching a lot of YouTube and stuff as well around like nutrition and training, and I was quite interested. So that was the obvious thing that I could do. And I was also like, right, well, you don't really need much, you need this qualification that's like 17 weeks to get, and you pay 2K or whatever, and then you can actually go and work in the gym and start training clients. And that's the first step. So I did that, and that, 6 months later, came back from New York, did all of that, and got into working in the gym. And I was always, immediately from day one, I was like, right, I'm just doing this, I'm doing these classes to get me started. And I had a friend, the same friend who gave me the advice about not doing the mastermind, also like good guy, like he hooked me up with getting into a gym and stuff as well. So like he helped me out, but just in that particular instance, his advice wasn't what I needed. But really, really good guy, got me into the gym and whatever else as well. And I knew I wanted online. And again, I was good with people. I was just good with talking to people. I pretty quickly had like 20 clients and was making more money in personal training in the gym than I had been in the bar previously. Within about 3-4 months, maybe, I was like making more money. So I was already in a relatively decent spot. But I knew that this was 2019. I knew that like I needed to get online. So I actually started a podcast in 2019. Did like 150 episodes.
150?
Yeah. But I also dropped off because after 150 episodes, it was kind of when I was going through that period of time. The podcast was very fitness based. And around the time when we met a couple of years ago, I was just having a lot of internal conflict about what I wanted to do. And I wasn't feeling the fitness coaching, and I wasn't feeling the business model. And I just was like, I'm not even enjoying doing these podcast episodes because it's not in alignment. I don't really know what I'm working towards. And I was kind of a little bit lost at that period of time. So I kind of stopped the podcast. I may bring it back, but I did a bunch of episodes. So that was like my first thing into like getting into the online space. And I had an Instagram page. And, I guess I was a personal trainer then. And the transition into coaching really just happened because of COVID. So because of lockdowns in 2020, I had like a few online clients who I was coaching, but they were mostly my friends. I didn't have an online business. So I was kind of like putting out content. I was working online, but I still had most of my income coming from in person. And it was kind of like an afterthought. And then of course, in 2020, everything closed down, and that was it. I was just like, right, that's it. While everyone else and all the people around me were just sitting back on their holes, taking the COVID payment, living the good life. And I was like, fuck this. Didn't apply for the payment, didn't do any of that. Just was like, I'm gonna make this online business work. And that was it. I kind of knew straight away I wasn't gonna go back to the gym. I didn't know how long it would be, but like people were like, 2 weeks, and then people were like, it could be more. And I was like, do you know what? Let me get these clients online. And I kind of immediately got a few of my clients from the gym online. I had like 5 online clients, and then I got like 2 or 3 more, and it was up to 8. And I was like, okay, like 8 online clients, that's kind of paying the bills. So I just have to build on this. And then like 3 months later, I had like 20 something clients, and I moved to Spain. So it was like, it kind of happened. I wasn't like, I'm going to be an online coach because of this reason. It was just, I always wanted an online business. I always wanted the freedom. And then when COVID came, I was like, right, this is the opportunity to do that.
Love that. When you went to Spain, was that like just throw fuel on the fire? And tell me a bit about that. Because I know you're in Barcelona.
Yeah.
And that's literally where I want to move to start next year. So I'd love to hear all about that.
Yeah. Man, honestly, another impulsive one, like New York, I decided like 8 weeks before that I was going to just move to New York for 6 months. And Barcelona was the same. One of my mates rang me. He was like, yo, do you want to move to Barcelona? He was like, you earning money online? I was like, yeah. He's like, do you want to move to Barcelona? I was like, yeah, sound, when? He's like, we'll go in 6 weeks. I was like, okay, perfect. Like there was zero thought, but I was just at that point where I was just kind of sick of what I was doing as well. And like I was living in Galway at the time, but I'd already done like 6 years in Galway. And I was just living in Galway because I knew I could work in the gym there and get started. But then I was online and I was like, why am I sitting in Galway? So there wasn't really a lot of thought that went into that decision, almost none. It was just, I always wanted to travel and have freedom. And when he asked the question, I was just like, oh, cool. I have the freedom to just say yes, which I never had. Never had the freedom to just be like, yeah, I'll randomly move to another country in 6 weeks. Why not? So that was how that happened. And then, I spent 3 months there initially because you could only do 3 months for tax. And then I went to Portugal for another 3-4 months. And then I came back to Spain, and I was kind of like over and back. And I didn't really have a I spent like 2 years there as a long-term base, but I kind of bounced around. I lived in Croatia, I lived in Tenerife, I lived in like a bunch of just random places, kind of enjoying the life that it gives. Barcelona is good. I don't know if I would, I don't think I'd live there long term. It's not a great place to have a business. Like the whole socialist government is just a disaster for business and taxes, and like terrible place to run an online business from, but like brilliant lifestyle. So I really enjoyed it, but after a couple of years I was like, it's not a smart place for me to build an online business. So that was part of the reason that I moved. But I still spend a lot of time in Spain. I spend a couple of months each year in Spain, and I kind of travel over and back. But it's cool, man. You'll love it. Like if you're there for lifestyle and like, you know, it's a bit of a party city, which is not my vibe anymore. So, you know, I kind of also felt a little bit disconnected from that. I was kind of like, I don't really, it's a real party city. And I kind of feel like I don't really want that on my doorstep either.
It's too seductive.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't seduced by it. I was seduced. Actually, yeah, no, when I think about it, I was very seduced because I went through a period of time in Barcelona where, like, I just went a bit wild. And it was good, but it was because the business had gone quite well over a couple of years. And I got to a point where I had like 40 clients and the business was, you know, ticking along, 6-figure run rate. Like it was doing well, but, you know, I was doing like check-ins and manual management of like 50 people. And I didn't have a clear niche at the time either. So I was just working with everyone and I just wasn't excited about the people I was working with. Like some of them were great, but a lot of them, they were, you know, it's like I'm just chasing up with them, telling them to not eat 2 pizzas of the weekend. And I'm like, I'm too motivated and driven, and like I have too much ambition to be having this conversation. Like, I have too much ambition to be having this conversation, and like, not to be bad, but I just don't think it was a good use of my time to be telling people not to eat pizzas, you know? And again, I didn't have a clear niche. So it was a lot of different people with different problems. And I, you know, had I had a better niche and a better understanding of my clients, I could have maybe coached them better and maybe it would have been a bit more fulfilling. But I was kind of like figuring out the whole coaching thing as well, you know, at the time. And I just lost fulfillment. And then I kind of went wild in Barcelona for 2 years. I started a property management company. I started an influencer agency. I did 200 skydives. And I was just like, you know, I spent like 30 grand on skydiving, went to Russia. I'd like to fucking fly in a wind tunnel for 3 weeks. And, you know, just like spend all my savings on like, do you know what? I'm going to just enjoy life, because I was really not enjoying my day to day. And I kind of took like a hiatus year out where the coaching business just went whew, all the way down. I let it go. Like I didn't post for like months. I was just like, let it free fall. And then at the end of that year, I was like, hang on, you know, this trying to run 3 businesses simultaneously is a really bad idea. And like the influencer agency was a lot of fun. We were doing like boat parties and rooftop parties and all that kind of stuff. But it was just a massive distraction. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It was like living the kind of party lifestyle and, you know, hanging out with loads of girls and like kind of short-term fun and gratification, but also not really building anything and just, you know, again, drinking too much, being distracted too much, trying to do too many different things. I was just like, you know what? When I'm thinking about my future, that coaching business, that model was like so much better than everything else. Like, you know, so I moved back to that. But Barcelona took me on a bit of a wild ride, but it was absolutely worth it. I loved it. But I probably wouldn't live there long term again.
Okay. That's really interesting. Yeah, there's a lot to dive into there. Okay. So tell me, the thing that kind of caught my attention was a lot of people, they try to get in or they want to get into the online business game because of the financial freedom you can get from that. But by listening to your story, it sounds like the financial freedom is not actually what way can I put this? The financial freedom, if it comes at a cost of your peace and if you lose fulfillment along the way, it's actually not worth it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I guess, well, you know, your definition of financial freedom is maybe different for everyone.
Of course.
But yeah, just to be like financially independent. So, you know, to not have to worry about paying your bills, to be able to go to a nice restaurant and eat out and not have to worry about it. Like these kind of things, like that level of financial independence, like online coaching, it's so, I wouldn't say it's easy, right? Because there's always a lot of work, but it's like very straightforward to get somebody earning 5K a month, for example, in the online business coaching, the online fitness coaching or coaching space in general. And, you can live a really good life on 5K a month almost everywhere. But if you want more than that, which I did, you also have to, you have to look at like, what are you actually doing and do you enjoy your day to day? And, if you want financial independence, but you also want a good life, which I wanted, then you have to make sure you're not just chasing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And I definitely did that. Like that, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing because I ended up doing so many cool things as a result of being pissed off at my day to day. Like I was like, right, I'm going to just go and pursue this dream of becoming a skydiver and jumping out of hot air balloons and jumping off little trikes. These little trikes that they're like a motorbike on a sail. Like I was hanging off the front of one of these, flew up to like 4,000 feet and just like backflipped off the thing. It's like, all this crazy stuff that I would never have got the opportunity to do if I worked a job, firstly, but secondly, if I wasn't pissed with my business, I probably wouldn't have actually, if I was really loving my business at the time, I probably would have just stayed in that. Because right now, I haven't skydived in like over a year. And the reason is I just absolutely love my day to day. And part of me is like, I really don't want, it's not a good idea for me to have a broken leg or, like I broke my coccyx before, which is the tailbone in the bottom of your back. Like I had a few dodgy ones skydiving and a few injuries. So right now I'm like, I love my business. I love my clients. I love what I do. I don't really want to jeopardize that. I'll go back in the future, but right now I'm like very happy with what I'm doing.
What do you think would be valuable for the audience before we...
Who's your audience overall? Do you know? Who would you like them to be?
See, I'm kind of doing it like me. Remember me back with the...
Yeah.
In corporate as a quality engineer. Just fucking depressed, man. Like, so lifeless. And like wanting this life of freedom, but being too scared to actually go and do it.
Maybe talking about fear of just like, I guess what we've spoken about so far, it's like a lot of fear. Starting a business, leaving a job, moving to a new city, like it's all like, I don't know, the common theme there is maybe just doing things that are scary and overcoming them. I think that's probably, most of the time people are just, they're waiting for the fear to go away, or they're waiting to be ready, or like, it's like, fucking wait until they're fucking, there's this fella I know, and I genuinely for 10 years, he's been talking about getting into like public speaking and all this and like changing, and every year he's like, oh, this is the year, big things are coming. And I'm like, I can just see him never getting there. Like I know he won't get there unless he actually makes it. He just talks about it, kind of half starts but never fully commits. I've tried to help him, like, like I send you the voice and stuff. I get frustrated because I tried to help this dude so many times and I'm just like, fucking hell.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Give you the blueprint.
Like, I'm like...
Okay, so
yeah, maybe fear, maybe just... I think one thing that's valuable, I mean, maybe the audience don't know how valuable it is, but like, I genuinely think that relying on a job now is insanity, right? Like relying on a kind of job and not, doing your own thing. Like, of course, people need jobs or whatever. You're doing the podcast, right? You're getting yourself out there. You're building a personal brand. You're like, you're creating opportunities. You're not just kind of sitting being like, right, this is the job. Like, that job might not be there in 5 years. Most jobs won't be there in 10 years. And we don't really know what ones won't be.
Scale of that, like which...
Yeah. But like accountants, lawyers, they're not going to be removed, but they're going to be
all
like...
my stuff, all my accountancy shit on just a
ChatGPT, of course.
Screenshot, fuck.
Of course, yeah.
Expand this.
Yeah, $24 a month, like,
It's so good.
And it's also everything else. It's not just your accountant
It's
for
your
that.
fucking therapist.
Man, you're a doctor, you're a therapist.
Business partner.
Yeah, the whole lot. So like, I mean, yeah, I think like the most important thing for people is like, I genuinely believe that the most important skill or ability or capability you can have is agency. Like,
High agency.
Being high agency, man. If you were not high agency, I genuinely think like life is going to be really, really difficult for you in the next 10 years.
So for anyone listening on, you've done so many different things, like so many different ventures, so many different life experiences. What would you say to someone who's listening who has an idea, has a dream, has a vision of a bigger future for themselves, but they don't know where to get started? They're thinking, okay, I need to wait for the perfect moment to take action. What would you say to someone like that?
Oh man, the same thing I said to you in the voice note, whatever it was, 2 years ago. Like you can ask for all the advice on how to do the thing. Here's the truth: you're probably going to be shit at the thing, right? Whatever it is that you do, you're going to be shit at it, and that's fine because nobody cares, right? The only person who cares is you. Nobody else actually cares, right? You care about what other people think, but they don't even think about you for the most part. And the ones who do, they're not even worth your thought anyway. But you have to just start. And fair enough, okay, I don't know where to start. So let's take somebody leaving a job that they hate, okay? Or maybe not leaving a job, but like starting a side hustle, doing something that like creates an opportunity. There's always going to be fear. And most of the time, anything that's worthwhile, there's a bit of fear attached to it. Because if there wasn't, it's just probably not got a lot of value to it, right? Like, there's not a lot.
Do it.
Everyone would do it, yeah. And it's like, if you want to grow as an individual, if you want to have more opportunities, if you want to be able to do things that you didn't think were possible for you before, you can't get any of that without fear. Like, it's just, that's the agreement. It's like you face the fear and then you deal with whatever comes up and you become better at it and you know, upskill and whatever else. So the short answer is you have to just do it. You can't get around the doing of the thing. So whatever it is, if it's starting the side hustle, it's like, I don't know what to do. Well, just do something. I mean, and also, I don't know what to do is bullshit. We live in the age of information. Like, there are so many ways to do everything that I think the problem is there's actually too much information. So before, 40 years ago, if someone wanted to start a business, there wasn't information available online to find out how to do that. So you had to go and find someone who's done it, talk to them. I mean, this is how I make my money, right? Now I make my money by teaching all the things I've done to other people, right? It's like, you know, you find someone who's done the thing, you ask them about it, and sometimes people will give you free advice, or sometimes you will pay someone and they'll give you advice. But you can always find out, right? So whatever the thing is that you want to do, if it's start a business, find someone who started a similar business, pay them for their time, even if it's just to sit down with you for 90 minutes and have a coffee and say, hey, what should I do? I mean, it's that easy. You sit down with someone who's done it. Okay, I can't afford to pay somebody for 90 minutes. A lot of the time, people will actually give you a bit of their time for free. Anyway, if some young 19-year-old kid came up to me now and was like, I'm just out of college, I really don't know what to do, I'd be like, you know what, bro? Fuck it. Come on, I'll chat to you for an hour. Why not? Like, let me give back something.
Because you see yourself in him.
Yeah, of course.
Of course you want to give back.
So like, if somebody comes and knocks on my door, or, you know, virtually knocks on my door, my Instagram page door, and says hi, and, you know, like, I'm going to give them my time. Maybe it's just giving them a few voice notes and like, here, do these things, and giving them some next steps. Maybe it's like, oh, you know what, you're near me in my city, like, fuck it, come over for a coffee, right? It depends what I have going on, right? I'm also like protective of my time, so I'm not like going to have everyone who ever messaged me like call to my house and sit down and give them coaching for free. But I'll always give somebody their next steps or like what they can do to get started. So not knowing is like a solvable problem, right? Like, I don't know, that's a solvable problem, and you have to just go, okay, I don't know, how can I find out? I can ask somebody. You can go to YouTube. The problem with YouTube is there's too many answers, right? So you can go to YouTube and everyone has a different answer, and there's 100 different strategies, and all of them work if you do the strategy properly. But if you do little bits of tons of strategies, they won't work. Now, here's the thing. If you do little bits of tons of strategies, even if it doesn't work, you're going to figure it out, right? It's going to take you more time. But like, none of that happens. You can't know what to do by just sitting still. It's like, oh, I don't know what to do, so I won't start. It's like, in 50 years, you will still be sitting there still not knowing what to do. Like, the knowing comes from the doing, and the doing can be actually like just trying the thing yourself. Or it can be, you know, if you're smart, you will go to find somebody who's already done it, ask them, and, you know, pay them to help you if you're in that position. And just face the fear, right? Because I don't know what to do is really an excuse. Like, if someone says that to themselves. They may kind of believe it, but if you actually break it down, it's like, that's not actually the reason. Like that's very easy to solve.
I heard a good one the other day. All excuses are fear in disguise.
Yep.
So it all just boils down to fear.
I agree. Yep. Yeah. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of, maybe loss, like opportunity costs. Like, what about if I do this and it doesn't work out and I can't go back to my job? Like, all these things. Another really easy exercise to do that I often have done in the past is just, if I'm scared of something, because this is really overcoming fear. It's not lack of knowledge. It's not going to get the knowledge because of fear. Get a sheet of paper, like an A4 sheet of paper, and just be like, here's the worst case scenario. And just write out everything you can think of. Every single worst case scenario on one side of the page. And then on the other side of the page, you just draw a line and you just have a solutions column. And it's like, okay, if this happens, so let's say for example, right, your worst case scenario is I lose my job and I can't pay my rent. Okay, like that's a pretty bad worst case scenario. Lose my job, can't pay my rent. Those are like the top two. Okay, first one, lose your job. Is that solvable? Well, yes, I could get another job. Will it take me a little bit of time? Yeah, maybe. I might not get it immediately. It mightn't be the job I love. But like, would I survive losing my job? The answer is like always yes, right? And then the next one down is, I can't pay my rent. Okay, could you stay with your parents for 3 months just to get back on your feet? And most of the time the answer there is yes. Or is there someone who you know and trust who could, help you out with rent for 3 months so that you could get back on your feet, right? Like, there's pretty much always an answer to these things, So it's just, and if the answer is truly no, then maybe you're like, okay, I'm not actually ready. If you go through it and you're like, no, I have nobody who would support me if I lost my rent in my apartment. There's no one in this world who would support me. And, if I lost my job, I'm a convicted criminal and it's really hard for me to get another job. Well, then maybe you look at this and you go, yeah, okay, you know what, maybe I should wait until I've got a little bit of cash stacked up. But that's not 99% of people. 99% of people have a nice warm bed to go back to if all things fail, and parents who are probably happy to see them, or family members who would be happy to help them out for a short period of time. So I really think that it's just, for most people, it's just not starting. And then the fear, it's like, after you posted that first story, how did you feel? Like, were you like, oh, I'm never posting a story again? Or were you like, oh, fuck, it's not that bad, let me do it more?
Such a relief.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like, all the demons, all the monsters in your head, they're so big. It's like the fear, it's like this big massive black lake, and you're looking in at it like this, and the thoughts of even falling in and just going down to the depths of despair and never being able to get back out again, and then you just step in and it's just this little puddle.
Yeah, it's a mile wide and an inch deep.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah. Awesome. And that's the thing, like, if you if as soon as you overcome fear, you kind of realize that it doesn't really have much of a hold over you. Like, I don't really feel a lot of fear these days. Like, I told you this earlier, like, public speaking, it doesn't scare me at all. It excites me. It's like, but the first time I put out a podcast episode, from my room, like nobody there, just me pressing a button, I was terrified.
Yeah.
That was like 6.5 years ago. 6 years ago, yeah, about that. And, now, like, I walk into a room of people and speak to a room of people, and like there is not even a nerve. I'm like excited. They're more scared to kind of introduce themselves and say hi than I am up at the front of the room. This podcast, like, there's no fear about sitting down and having a conversation with you. At the start, there was a lot. The first time I did a guest appearance on a podcast, or the first time I had a guest on my podcast, I was like, oh, well, I better not ask a stupid question, But now I'm just like, I just rock up and walk in. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Like, I'm excited to talk to you. I'm excited to talk to the people in the room. I'm excited to do this thing. And it's just reps. And obviously, I've done stuff that is very scary, not just like, feel the fear, but like jumping out of an airplane is very scary on your own. Without any instructor, just you in this little backpack, and you're like, fuck.
This is it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think like not everyone has to do that, by the way. It's not my solution for everyone. But the more that you can face fear, fear just becomes this, it's kind of like an indicator. If it scares me, I'm like, oh, I'm a little bit worried about that or scared about that. Like, okay, that means it's an indicator that I'm moving to the next level. And I really genuinely don't feel a lot of fear anymore. I can't actually pinpoint the last time that I did something new where I felt a lot of fear. Now, if I walk onto stage for 1,000 people, I actually do. I played music for like 200 or 300 people recently on a stage, and I had like very little notice, and I was scared then because the first time I did it twice, and the first time I had very little notice.
Yeah.
And I was scared because I was underprepared.
Oh, yeah,
so it was like a genuine, I was like, I knew I was underprepared. But the second time,
yeah,
a little bit of fear and nerves, but I was better prepared because I knew it was coming. And then as soon as I was on there, it was amazing. I loved every minute, you know. But again, it's like at the start, maybe you're not. I think that's the other thing as well around fear. Like you can be, if you're really well prepared. Lucy is joining us on the podcast. They'll think that's my stomach making weird noises.
What's wrong with this guy? He's done too much skydiving.
But yeah, like I think, you know, you can really just minimize fear and look at it as a good thing as well. But I think, like, honestly, here's something on fear.
Yeah,
your audience.
Let's have it. Come on, Lucy.
I genuinely think, see, it was Lucy making these noises, not me. I genuinely think people who are not high agency are going to have a really tough 10 or 15 year period.
Okay, let's dig a bit deeper.
Yeah, so, and this is not fear mongering, but you should actually be, if you are not high agency, you should actually have some
Define
fear
high
around this.
agency. What does high agency actually mean?
Best definition of this I heard.
14-year-old.
Yeah, best definition of this I heard was kind of more an explanation. I think it was on Chris Williamson. And he was like, if you were locked in a third world country prison on the other side of the world and you only had one phone call to one person to get you out, who would you call? And that person is the high agency person. So it's effectively the person who gets shit done, right? And like, I really want to be high agency in my life. It's like someone who takes responsibility, someone who will kick the door in to get shit done. Yeah, you know, won't stay outside kind of like, you know, feebly knocking on the door. It's like, if we need to get in, we'll kick the door in and we'll make it happen. Yeah. It's like people who make stuff happen. And, you know, it's a combination, I think, of responsibility. It's also having confidence and ability to face fear. It's trying new things. It's obviously, it's like a capability agency overall, I would say. And you can create more agency in your life by having more autonomy, having more skills, just being a more well-rounded individual all over who I would say is independent as well. So, you know, if you are independent, right? You are high agency because you're sitting here recording a podcast. You've got a podcast set up. You're traveling to record podcasts. Like you said, you know, a little bit earlier when we were chatting, like the podcast is not like something that like you're, you know, being paid to do, right? It's something that, yes, it will open up huge amounts of opportunities, but it's like you have to put yourself out there. You have to learn the skills. No one is like, you have to do the podcast. You know, it's like, it's up to you to take responsibility. Like, this is something I want to do. I have to overcome the fear. I have to learn these skills. I have to find out about how to set up the lights. I have to find out about the cameras. You know, if something goes wrong, your camera runs out of storage, you have to solve that problem. It's like, you have to be really good at solving problems and just being independent. And I think if someone is watching this now and they're stuck in a job or a role where they're just very dependent on this company and they think that, oh, you know, well, I'm scared to kind of go and start my own business, or I'm scared to leave this job and go to something else because it's kind of comfortable and safe and secure. It's not comfortable or safe, or, well, maybe it's comfortable, but it's probably not safe or secure because a lot of those safe and secure jobs are going to be wiped out. And, you know, we spoke there about, you know, simple things like, they're not necessarily simple, but like good professions, accountants, lawyers, all these professions, AI is getting exceptionally good at doing their jobs for them. And that doesn't mean that they're all going to be wiped out, but there will be a need for a lot less of them. So instead of having 100 lawyers, you know, a firm might only need 10 lawyers using AI to get the same amount of work done. And the work doesn't grow, right? Because you can't like 10x the amount of work that's available for lawyers. But if you 10x the productivity of the lawyers, well, then 90 of these lawyers are not needed anymore, right? So like there's serious, and this is everything, by the way. Like this is for me as well. It's not just, oh, I'm good because I'm in the online business space and I'm a coach. Like everyone is at risk. And honestly, nobody really knows how fast things are going to change and who's going to kind of suffer the most or at what rate. But in a world like that, you need to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. And I think one thing that AI can't take away from you, and technology can't take away from you, and employers can't take away from you, is your skills, your abilities, the things that you build into yourself and learn and create. And again, you create all those things by facing challenges, overcoming challenges, solving problems. Like that's why I love entrepreneurship so much. Like I love it. I absolutely love it. It's like the best possible thing I can see a human doing for themselves is like just going to figure out life for themselves. Like it's such a self-development journey because you have to overcome all of the fear, the struggles, the challenges, the stress. You can't rely on anyone, you know, like you're reliant on yourself, and you're not getting a salary or a paycheck if you're starting a business, especially not at the beginning. You know, things are often quite tight at the beginning. But like you're learning so much about yourself, you're learning so much about how the world works, you're developing a lot of agency, and you're developing skills that make you actually a valuable individual. And I had this kind of realization where, you know, I've met a few friends over the last couple of days, and I did the mastermind in Galway. And, you know, I noticed, not to toot my own horn, but I noticed how valuable I was to the people around me in those conversations. It's kind of like you mentioned at the start about that voice note. I'd totally forgotten about that. But that was valuable for you, right, at the time. And, you know, I sat down with a friend yesterday and we talked about a big decision he's making in life, and a decision that he's not sure about and he's fearful about whether or not it's the right decision. And, you know, my response to that, just without even thinking, I was like, well, look, realistically, you can't know, because the decision happens first, and then everything that happens after the decision is what we use as the reference point for whether or not it was the right decision. Okay, so I deleted my Snapchat. And now when I look back at it, I'm like, you know what? I think it was the wrong decision. But at the time, I couldn't have possibly known. Now, that's like a small thing, right? But if you make a big life decision, you've got kind of two options. One is you just like sit and kind of hope that it turns out to be the right decision. The other is you kind of like map out two paths. Okay, I've made this decision. What would have to happen for this to be a terrible decision? And then what would have to happen for this to be an amazing decision? And now you've got like, okay, so, you know, in this guy's case, I don't want to share too much, but in this guy's case, he's got a big decision, and on one side of the coin, he can kind of stay doing what he's doing and just hope it works out. But that might result in him not becoming the best version of himself, maybe putting on weight, maybe getting unhealthy, like a bunch of things that, you know, if they go wrong, this decision is going to be bad. On the flip side, if he makes this decision and it ends up in a place where he's got into great shape, he's earning more money in his career, he's more confident, all of these things, then it's a good decision. So it's like, okay, well, hang on a second. Forget about the decision. What do we have to do to just make these things happen? And then it becomes a good decision. So it's like you're not making the right decision, you're making the decision right after the fact. So it's like, I've made this decision, and now I'm going to commit to, if this decision was to be the right decision and everything worked out, this is what I want. So now I have actions to get me there and make it the right decision. And that was like, he was like, man, wow, I never thought about decision making in that context. And he was kind of like a little bit mind blown. And that was a very normal thing. Like for me, I didn't really kind of realize how much value there was in that for him. And he was like, I feel so much better about this. Now I know that, like, instead of humming and hawing over this decision and wondering, should I go back and change the decision? I'm going to just put all my focus on doing the things that make this the right decision. And like the decision was kind of then just closed off. And now he's like focused on going to work on myself, going to work on my career, going to work on getting myself in shape, blah, blah, blah. So that in 2 years' time, when I look back as a way better version of myself, I'll be like, that was a great decision, versus slipping downhill from that decision and then it being a terrible decision. So like, I just saw that and I was like, fuck, I provided a lot of value without even really thinking about it. And I realize now, like when I sit in circles of people and when I sit with my friends, and I'm always in rooms with people who are like providing me with a ton of value, right? So it's not like me, it's just people who generally kind of work for themselves, work on their own things. Like they tend to have a lot of value to share because they go through a lot of struggles and a lot of difficulties, and like they make these decisions and whatever else as well. And I think you can just become a much more valuable individual, both in terms of like career and money and all of that, but also just in terms of like the people around you, by just doing the thing, you know, and like taking on the challenges. So I think it's really, really important. And genuinely, if I was sitting in a career that felt comfortable right now, I would be worried about the future, and I would be worried about whether or not my career is going to be there in 5 years or 10 years. And I would be worried about, if it's not, what am I going to do? What skills do I have? What have I worked on? Do I have a side hustle? Can I make some money online? I have a girl who I coach. She works a 9 to 5. She's a great girl. She works a 9 to 5. She's kind of just, you know, very close to the start of the business. And she sent me a text this morning just saying she'd made X amount of euro. It was like in the thousands, alongside her 9 to 5 job. And she was like, this is just so incredible to understand that, like, you know, and it's not a full-time income because she works 9 to 5, but it's thousands of euro, which for her, she's like, for me to be able to make thousands of euro from my phone is just, it's crazy. Like her whole life has shifted because she's like, I actually have an ability to make money. And yes, it's not like she's making 10 grand a month, or like, you know, it's not like some huge figure, but if she ever needs to make money for a holiday, she knows how to sell stuff online. She knows how to sell her services. If she wants a little bit of extra cash flow, she's now not fully reliant on her 9 to 5. And she sent me about 5 pages of a message, you know, and like for me, the win that she shared is like, for me, it's not like a crazy massive win. You know, it's like some supplemental extra income on the side of her 9 to 5. It's not going to change her life. You know, she might be able to, she bought a new car and a new laptop this year, but like, it's not like a life-changing amount of money or anything like that. But it's a life-changing position to be in, to realize like, I can stand on my own 2 feet. And if this job goes tomorrow, I can go here and make money. And yes, it might be like tons of money immediately, but I have the skill set to actually make my own money. I can be self-sufficient. And that was like such a massive thing for her. And I was like, fuck yeah. Like that's kind of like the shift I had way back as like a 13-year-old, where I was like, I can sell this horse and I can get 100 euro for selling the horse and 50 euro for the day. And I can do something that's fun and crazy and gets my adrenaline up, and I can get paid for this. I'm like, I'm good, you know, kind of gives you a bit of confidence as well. So that's what I think people should do. They should face the fear, they should take the action, and they should realize that like, it's a lot scarier to stay where you are.
The cost of inaction.
It's terrifying.
Honestly. Oh my God. That was awesome. Like so much valuable. Yeah. Do you know what I like the most, man? That decision making process where you get a sheet of paper and put the line down the middle, all the worst things that can happen, and then a solution to each different.
It makes it a lot less scary. It's like,
because it's rational now. It's not this big monster in your head.
You know, it's like, oh, you know, like I'll be outcast, and this is just built into us from an evolutionary standpoint. We're social creatures, right? So it makes complete sense. You're not broken for having these thoughts, right? It's not like there's something wrong with you and you can't build a business. That's completely normal. You know, we go, oh, if I lose my career and I lose my house and all my friends will lose respect for me and they'll laugh at me and I'll be cast out of the tribe and I'll you know, starve to death alone out in the wilderness. Like that's what your monkey mind is saying. And it's like, that's just so far from the reality. You know, like more people die from obesity than hunger in today's world, right? Like we don't live in that world, but our brains have just not evolved. So it's like, for me, that just makes it really easy to be like, actually, none of this stuff is that bad, you know? And you can even like go and talk to people and be like, hey, heads up, I'm starting this new business thing. You know, if it goes upside down, you know, worst case scenario, would I be able to crash on the couch for a month just till I make the money back for my job, or like, you know, whatever. And not that you're actually, you won't even have to do that, right? Like realistically, no one, for the most part, people are not going to do that because the incentive is there, like, right, I'm going to make it work, and you will make it work. But just knowing that, like, okay, there's a safety net, that makes it a lot easier to actually go and do it, you know? And there's like, man, there's always a safety net. There's literally always a safety net. Like, we live in a pretty crazy time. Like, there wasn't this safety net before. There wasn't this social mobility before as well, where people could go from like, you know, people could go from very poor to very wealthy. That didn't happen like 100 years ago. Like, we live in such a unique time. You know, 100 years ago, you were like a servant and a pleb or whatever, you know. You were like here, and the lords and everything else were up here, and that was just it. Like, if you were born here, tough shit. If you were born here, you get everything. If you're born here, tough shit. But now we can, like, through our own hard work and persistence and acquisition of skills and value that we provide to the world, we can actually ascend. You know, it's not like, realistically, like, most of us are not going to be billionaire Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, but like, I don't want that. I don't know about you. I guess you probably don't want to be Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. But like, I don't want that. But I definitely want to be somewhere in the middle. You know, I want to be somewhere in the middle where, you know, I live a very good life. Money is not a thing that I have to worry about. It's not a source of panic and stress and anxiety, which it is for a lot of people. And that's available, like, for everyone. It's not necessarily easy. It's a lot of work, but again, the cost of inaction, it's a lot greater, in my opinion. Maybe I'm just biased because I love this whole entrepreneur thing. Maybe this is all terrible advice, and I'm just like, everyone should be an entrepreneur.
Don't take this guy's advice or ruin.
Yeah, you might end up partying on yachts and jumping out of airplanes. No, but seriously, I think, like, you know, and it's not that everyone has to be an entrepreneur either, because not everyone is an entrepreneur. So, like, if you don't want to do that, but like, develop skills, like, team up with you know, Chris Williamson on Modern Wisdom, his videographer is living the greatest life ever because he's Chris Williamson's videographer. And Chris is the entrepreneur, and he's the one who's like building the businesses. And
yeah, it's different personality types as well. Like,
but he needs a number two who's like doing all the content, traveling around the world with him. So it's not even that like you have to be the entrepreneur, but like, develop skills that make you useful to somebody else. And that way, you know, you're going to have more opportunity in life as well. It's like the podcast, right? Like, this just gives you so many opportunities. It introduces you to so many people. You have no idea what this podcast is going to do in your life, but it's definitely going to have a massive impact on the rest of your life. You don't know exactly what it's already had, but it's going to have a ginormous impact on the rest of your life through the people that you meet, the skills that you develop, just the random things that happen as a result of somebody seeing a post, you know?
I want to double tap or touch on what you mentioned about not being the face of the business. Because if you even think of it on like an even basic level, there's always a lead singer in a band.
Yep.
And that person is always like the more outgoing, talkative person, like the crowd pleaser. But if you look at the other people in the band, they're often can be less of that personality type, you know? So I think when you understand, okay, this is who I am, this is like things that are easier to me that might be more difficult to others. If you understand, okay, I'm wired upstairs this certain way, let me lean into that. Let me use my unique or inherent skills and double tap on that to get me further. You know, go with the grain versus against the grain. So I think that's definitely, but all it comes with like having that awareness, okay, what are my strengths? You know, what are my skills?
And I think you find that out as well. Because I said this to you actually at the start when I first walked in. It was like, people always ask that question. Naval Ravikant, do you know Naval? Yeah. So Naval Ravikant always asks the question, what do you do that feels like play that to everyone else feels really difficult? And for me, that's public speaking. Most people are terrified of public speaking. It's like, I don't know, number one, number two, fear, whatever it is. It's terrifying for the same reasons, as I mentioned there, of being cast out of the tribe, looking like an idiot, and they throw you out and you go and die of starvation on the plains of County Offaly, right? So like, it's the same thing with public speaking. But for me, it's taken me years to kind of get to this point, but I've done quite a bit of like stuff on stage, playing music. Like, I love being on stage. I love the limelight. I love the attention. I love talking. I love sharing. I love educating. And I love when the cameras are on. Like, I am good when the cameras are on. I feel confident. I don't feel worried. I don't feel stressed. Again, it wasn't like that at the start.
Yeah.
But for me, that's something that like comes really, really easily. But I found that strength 7 years into this business building journey, right? Yeah. So like, I couldn't have told you that without doing all of this stuff.
Of course.
You know?
So it all comes back to getting started in the first place.
It all comes back to getting started.
Throwing shit at the wall.
Yeah.
Getting the train moving.
And getting some guidance is just always a good idea. Like, you can spin your wheels on something for 10 years and somebody can come along and solve the problem for you in 10 weeks, right? Or 10 months.
Well, yeah, you can pay with money or you can pay with time.
Yeah, 100%. And I've paid with both. Like, there's stuff that I just figured out myself. And, at certain points in my life, that was the best thing because I didn't have the money to invest. And at other times, now I always pay with money, not with time. Because at this point, I just realized, like, fuck, paying with time takes so much longer. Paying with money, I get the answer a lot sooner and with a lot less pain, and I get to the next step much quicker. But at the start, I paid with time, and, there'll be some things you just pay with time as well. And it's not a sales pitch, but, like, you should be getting somebody, like, if you're starting a business, for example, like, I talk to coaches who are starting a business and don't have a mentor, and I think they're fucking insane. Like, I genuinely think they're insane. And maybe it's because they don't know, but I just look at, like, I've spent like 90 grand on mentoring over the last 7 years. And I am still so ignorant. There's still so much I don't know. Like, I still feel like I'm very early on in my business journey. Like, for me, this is like a 20, 30 year journey, and I'm like 7 years in. So I'm still like, I'm not even a teenager yet in my business journey, right? That's how I feel about it. And I'm like, geez, if I had not done that mentoring, like, if I had not had mentors, and some were good, some were bad. I learned stuff from all of them, but, like, man, I'd be so far behind. Like, I would just never, it would take me 30 years to get to the point I am now on my own, instead of 7. So, I really think if you're starting a business, especially now, because there's a bit of a timeline as well, like 20, 30 years ago, you could probably start a business and, things wouldn't change that quickly, and, you'd figure it out in the first 5 years, and year 10, you'd be successful. Man, business is changing overnight. I have one client as well. In 2017, he sold 50 grand on a webinar. Mm-hmm. He does coaching for medical students, basically, right? So he coaches them on how to pass their exams, and he has a 997 program. And in 2017, he ran a webinar, and he had 100 people on the webinar, and he sold 50 something of these packages and made 50 grand on a webinar. And then a couple of months later, he did it again, right? So this is a guy who's like seriously good at what he does. Then he took a hiatus from online coaching and from the coaching space because he was just busy in his own profession. And he came back 5 years, 6 years later, same systems, nothing. The same systems,
Crickets.
Right? Crickets, right? The webinar funnel, which is basically you get people to a webinar, you deliver value on the webinar, you pitch them on the webinar, and they sell on the webinar, and you run ads to fill the webinar, right? So it worked really, really well a few years ago. But the strategy that made him 100 grand in a calendar year for 2 webinars, now of course there was like some marketing off the back of them as well, like there was a bit of a process. But the strategy that made him 100K in 1 year, extra income, made him 0 last year, right? Just it doesn't work anymore, right? Or it doesn't work as well, or he didn't execute it as well. But things just change quite quickly, And now he's working with me, and he's like, this guy really knows his stuff. Like, he's an amazing client to work with. I'm like, wow, dude, like he has so much stuff built. He has funnels. He has like a bunch of stuff, like a really, really high level client. And I was like, wow, like that's pretty crazy how fast something that used to work now doesn't work anymore. So we're basically plugging all his things into a bit of a different system. now, but he has the things, but he just needs to put the components in the right place, basically, because it wasn't really in a coherent structure. But things change fast, so you don't really have the time to like figure it out either. Like that's the thing. I'm paying mentorship every single month. You know, have been for the last 18 months. I mean, for the last few years, but like I've been working with one person for the last 18 months, and like I have no intention of leaving. Like fuck no. Like I'm gaining so much more value, and I'm moving a lot faster because I'm basically buying the next steps. And I'm not paying with time, I'm paying with money. And it's just, it would be insane for me not to have a mentor, you know? So that's my thoughts. I think get started. I think the fear thing, you got to overcome it. Either write out all the fears and all the solutions, or maybe just actually think about what the real fears are, like the fears of inaction, because those fears are bigger. You know, those fears are bigger. Like what about you lose the job and you're totally unprepared and you have no skills, and you know
then you're really fucked.
The economy is absolutely rinsed because 90% of all professions have been sidelined, and the supply demand of the marketplace is chaos because now there is massive supply and no demand for basically everything. And everyone goes on universal basic income, and we don't know what happens then. I don't know. Like
we'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see. Yeah.
Strap in, guys. Strap in. So tell us on. We've touched on the origin story. We've touched on the mission, like the daily activities, what you're working on at the moment. What's the vision? Like, what is the North Star that you're chasing? What is the purpose that gets you out of bed in the morning? What does that look like?
Yeah. So my purpose at the moment is, honestly, so I actually live my vision right now. So my daily life right now is my vision. I already live the life that I want. I wake up in the mornings, I do some work on stuff that I like. I walk in the park with my girlfriend, and we just rescued a beautiful pit bull dog who we're absolutely in love with 3 weeks ago. And he's a big, strong dog, needs a lot of exercise. So, you know, my dream life is just, I can take the dog out a few times a day. We can run around the park. I do work that's fulfilling. That's also my purpose. Like right now at this stage of life, I think when I turn 30, I'm 31 now. You know, my 20s were just chaos. Single all of my 20s, by choice, partying a lot, like hanging out with a lot of girls, doing a lot of like, you know, boats and skydiving and all this kind of crazy shit. My 30s, you know, when I turned 30 and I started dating my girlfriend, I'm not giving any energy or attention to anything that's not going to be in my life in 10 years. And my purpose and my vision is like family, future. Like I want that, and I want freedom to spend time with my family. I want freedom in terms of ability to move. I just, again, not fear mongering, but like I really think mobility is important. You know, I think the ability to move if you need to not live in one place, to not rely on one country or one company for your income. Like I think that ability to just basically be your own boss, be your own bank, be your own employer, like basically just dictate your daily decisions is really, really important. And I have a good level of that now. I'm very happy with my level of that. So I'm very happy in terms of like the vision. Honestly, you know, if my monthly income or annual income 10x'd, nothing would change about my life except I drive a Lamborghini. That's the only difference. I'd buy a Lamborghini just because, for the fun of it, because I would drive it not too fast at the speed limits. But like not for the material. Could not care about material stuff. I don't buy like expensive clothes. I don't buy expensive bags. Like none of that shit. But I would buy a Lamborghini because I love the car. But other than that, my life would not change. Like other than that, I would do the same things. I would work out. I would go do my one-on-one boxing sessions with my coach. I'd walk the dog. I'd spend time with my girlfriend. I'd spend time with my parents. I'd travel around, do masterminds. I'd work with clients that I love working with. Like I'd create stuff that I think is valuable and good for the coaching space. So I'm already kind of living the vision. And yeah, the purpose is just, you know, long-term security, stability, freedom for my family, for myself. The ability to just have agency, you know, like I really think that's it. I like having agency over my life. I don't like being told what to do. And you know, that's on a kind of personal level and a family level, and then on a wider level, giving that to other people, Like, I absolutely love what I do now. I love talking business with coaches. I love helping people solve problems in business, because I can actually see, you know, when they go and they implement it, like how much their life changes, you know, and how much things change. I just absolutely love that. And I also think that like agency and entrepreneurship is really, you know, the skills that are going to be important for people in the next few years, you know. And not only the next few years, but I think like particularly in the next few years, but I just think in general, we live in a fast changing world. Like, I really want to help people be more agentic over their life and, you know, do the things that they're scared to do and just have fun as well. Like, I enjoy what I do as well. So I think just trying to give that on to other people, and, you know, again, responsibility and stuff. I really think we live in a society as well where like people are kind of allowed to not take responsibility, and we're gone very soft, to be honest. And I think just like having more agency, having more responsibility, just taking control of your life is a good thing to do. So yeah, I think that's the mission and the purpose.
Luce bombs in to say hello once more.
Yeah, and spending time with dogs. Hello, Lucy. Yeah, spending time with dogs. Like, I actually, one of the things I do in Sofia is I go to the dog shelter and help out volunteer at the dog shelter, because I just think it's a good thing to do. So
That's definitely.
I'm not at the point of being philanthropic just yet, but is that the word? Philanthropic? Philanthropic. I would like to do philanthropy stuff in the future. When I'm at that stage of the journey. Yeah. And give back a little bit as well.
Awesome. So where can people go to check you out?
Best place is just Instagram, also YouTube. I'm kind of like starting to come up on YouTube a little bit now. It's Eoin Dobbin Catto. You'll probably have it in the show notes somewhere. And those are my most active platforms. But if you just stick me into Google, you'll find me on whatever platform you want. I'm pretty much everywhere. To some small extent, so you'll find me somewhere. Legend man.
Well, you've been the first guest to come on the show twice.
Oh, the first repeat guest. Nice. Amazing.
A pleasure to have you here. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm sure people are going to learn a lot and hopefully take action from everything you said.
Thanks, man, and great to see you doing this as well. Well done, because a lot of people get the advice and don't do the thing, but you did the thing and you're continuing to do the thing, so well done. And I look forward to seeing your journey proceed as well. Nice one, bro. That was amazing.
That was good crack, yeah.